What's up, DoorDash drivers? This is Jay here from Gridwise, and I have my colleague, Brandon.
What's up, Jay?
What's going on, Brandon? We got a great topic for our viewers today.
Great topic. This is probably what everyone wants to know, right? Because everyone wants to know how to make more money.
Exactly. Today's video, we're bringing you 10 easy tips that if you do today, I guarantee will make you more money on DoorDash, on Instacart, on Postmates, on any of the other, what other, Grubhub? Am I missing any, Brandon?
Caviar.
GoPuff. So let's start off with tip number 1, and that is to deliver within your neighborhood. And what I mean by that is deliver where you live. Don't go the extra mile and turn the app on and then just drive somewhere. Like, wake up a little earlier, turn the app on, and wait for the pings to roll in. Now, this leads to our second tip. But before we get to the second tip, if you like our content, I implore you, please subscribe by hitting that red button below. And also, if you like our content, make sure you let us know in the comments. Right, Brandon?
Let us know in the comments. But wait a second here, Jay. When you say deliver in your neighborhood, what if you are in a food desert neighborhood?
Well, that actually, if you're in a food desert neighborhood, you need to follow another tip that's buried within our 10 tips. So make sure you watch this entire video, because I'm telling you, all of these 10 tips are actionable and they definitely help you make more money.
All right. Let's get into tip number 2 here, which is a good one. When you are driving, like Jay just said, wake up a little bit earlier, turn on your app. You are going to eventually, you're going to see some trips start to roll in. Key here is don't just pick any trip. Don't just pick like the first one that comes in just because it came in. Be selective about that first trip. And again, if you start, you turn your app on a little bit earlier before you plan to work, that'll give you time to be a little bit more selective. But be selective about that first one. Don't just go for any trip. Make sure that first one is a good one, has a decent to great payout. Start yourself on the right. Start your day off on the right foot.
And for those of you who followed our channel, Brandon and I used to drive DoorDash.
Did a little DoorDashing?
Mainly Uber Eats. We used to do Uber Eats, and we made 2 videos on driving Uber Eats and how we document the experience. If you haven't watched those videos, link in the description below, or click that interactive I button. Those are some funny videos. Tip number 4 that I have for you guys is, Brandon, this is so common sense when you think about it, but it really doesn't, most drivers don't think about it because it's so simple. And it's only driving during meal times. And think about when people eat, and that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So early in the morning, 7 to 9 a.m. is usually breakfast. Lunch rush is around 11 to 1 p.m. And then the dinner rush, anywhere from 6 to like 8 p.m., depending on your city. Yeah. And for those drivers that drive full time, there's a lot of people right now, because of the pandemic, that this is a means to an end and they have to drive this full time. So the theory is, no matter what hour you drive, there's going to be a lot of drivers out there, and that's your competition. So if you decide to drive non-mealtime hours, let's say you drive, 10 to 11 a.m. or after lunch, let's say
like 2:30 to 4.
Yeah, 2:30 to 4:30, when not many people are eating like dinner. Then your competition is still out there. Now you're scrounging for just any trip that comes by. So you're going to have a hard time filling your queue up and maximizing your hourly rate. And that's honestly the key here is twofold, Brandon, and that's to maximize what you make per hour and also maximize what you make per mile. So only seriously consider driving outside of peak mealtime hours if you truly know your market and you understand the strategy behind your market and the ebbs and flows of your city.
Yeah, certainly if you're more experienced, like you can, figure out that, for whatever reason, at 2:30, this McDonald's is absolutely popping or something like that, or this like specific restaurant. like you can figure that out. But otherwise, like look at other services. If you're doing any sort of ride share, that's a good time to do ride share. If you are doing any sort of grocery, like try to book some times during those those blocks there that delivery is going to be slow. So that that goes back to just kind of planning your time out correctly.
Yeah.
Another good one that goes along with like that first trip, make sure that you get a good ride or you get a good trip. All of your trips, try to get good trips. You might not get like the $7, $8 tip type deliveries every time, but avoid those like little ones. Avoid those $2, $3 tips. Like those are just gonna waste your time. Like Jay said, you don't want to just maximize how much you're making per hour, but you also want to maximize how you're making per mile. So if you're getting like a $3 delivery, it's going to be hard for you to not drive, or to drive like so few miles where that ends up being like a good trip, a profitable trip. So don't be afraid to be selective.
Don't be afraid to be selective, especially if the restaurant delivers to a huge geographic area. Brandon, you know what I'm talking about? There's some pizza joints that deliver to like half a state away.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have those in Chicago, but like, if you do, let me know because I kind of want some deep dish pizza. But
Chicago style pizza, little Giordano's.
Style.
I don't think Giordano's goes all that far.
Yeah. But I'm sure those of you watching, what I'm talking about. There's these restaurants that just they deliver across your entire city and even to the suburbs. So there's two things that are brought up with that. The issue of too much demand, which kind of seems counterintuitive. You might think like, oh, a lot of demand's great, right? Well, not if there's like peak hours and there's a 30 to 1 hour delay for orders, right? And these restaurants they can get that busy. And also, what if you get one of those orders out to an hour outside the city? So now you're stuck driving a huge order out an hour away, and what do you do on the hour back? You got to think about these things. So strategically think about the restaurants that that deliver to wide areas and formulate your plan around that. You might be asking, now, how do I find that information out? The simplest thing to do is to literally call the restaurant. Like Google the restaurant, call them and be like, hey, just wondering if you deliver out to, and name the neighborhoods or the zip codes that you find on your Google Maps that are outside of the main area of your city. And just call them. And 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you, yeah, we deliver out there or we don't. And that's how you figure that out.
That's a good tip. I really do like that tip a lot. Kind of getting to the next one. This is a big one that I think a lot of rideshare drivers really do a good job of, but delivery drivers kind of forget that this is something that you can and should do, is just track your miles. Because I think this is because a lot of you delivery drivers out there might be a little bit newer to the game, but you can deduct all those miles, and a lot of times you're going to rack up so many deductions that you're going to pay damn near nothing in taxes, right? So you have to make sure you capture every single mile. Don't just go out and trust whatever DoorDash or Postmates or Grubhub gives you, because they're going to miss miles. That period where you are driving to your spot, they're definitely going to miss. And then when you're driving home, like, they're going to miss those miles and sometimes more. So independently track your miles. Shameless plug here, use Gridwise to track your mileage and your earnings. But whatever you use to track your miles, just do it. I promise you, come April 15th or whenever you file your taxes, I always do mine late, you are going to appreciate the fact that you tracked all your mileage, so you are going to pay almost nothing in taxes.
I think it's almost 55.5 or 57.5 cents per mile.
Like 58, I thought it was.
I think they decreased it, but it's a little under 60 cents per mile track that you can deduct from your federal taxes. Like, that's thousands of dollars worth of taxes that you could be missing.
Yeah.
Here's another obvious one that isn't so obvious, and that's to go to Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever map software of your choice and just look up the keyword restaurants, takeout, pizza, and figure out visually where all these restaurants live. And the beautiful thing about this map software is it actually tells you visually with little icons. I know Google Maps does, where your restaurants are. And then you can literally see groups and patterns. And these are your supply centers, because what does delivery food come from? It comes from restaurants, right? So now you know exactly what areas could contain the most supply, and then you factor that in with your knowledge of your market on demand patterns, and now you know where to hang out if times are slow. Because when you get a ping, you're right there. You're in a group of 5 Chipotle's and Chick-fil-A's and a bunch of like eat-in restaurants in that shopping center that's near your house or something. And that's like your watering hole.
Number 8, this is a really good one. That is one of those things you can't always use. But the thing is, like, you got to be smart about, hey, when are people definitely going to want delivery more? Kind of one of the main times is one, just like overall from like a like throughout the year, like when weather is bad, like in the wintertime, people are going to be probably going to want to do delivery more. I know for a fact they want to do delivery more there. That's why if you look at like how much not Uber, but DoorDash and their earnings like skyrockets during like December. Look at like inclement weather. Like when weather is bad, when it's snowy, when it's rainy, people are going to be more inclined to do delivery. You are going to stay real busy. There's going to be no downtime. Tips are going to be better because people know you're like going through, like the rain and the sleet and the snow and all that stuff. Focus like when it's bad weather. If that was going to be your day off, consider going out because you're just going to make more during that time.
Like, I want to also mention that disclaimer here, you also increase your chances of getting into an accident, and that's not what we want you to risk unless you really full on know the risk. So take that with a grain of salt. But the whole reason with inclement weather is that it messes up people's dinner schedules, and it also lowers the amount of other drivers who might not want to get into an accident or are driving.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. There's going to be less drivers on the road. So a lot of drivers are going to say, "Whoa, it's crappy out. I don't want to go out there." You're going to have a decrease in overall drivers. You're going to have an increase in people ordering food. You do have to be more careful on the road, obviously, but it's a better opportunity for profits.
And you know what's not a better opportunity for profits, but also increases your risk of accidents? And that's a horrible segment.
Were you about to say McDonald's?
2, it doesn't make sense. 1, it doesn't make sense, and 2, it doesn't even like seg well.
You just roasted our tip there.
I just did. Use McDonald's. Use McDonald's. Now, Brandon and I, we drove some Uber Eats back in the day, and we recorded the entire thing on camera. And Brandon, do you miss McDonald's?
I don't, but like the thing, your tip. I'm gonna let you explain your tip, but like the thing about McDonald's is you got to be smart. That's the thing.
Yeah. So the tip here is use McDonald's smartly. It's the full tip. Smartly. What I mean by that is McDonald's is open later than a lot of restaurants out there. So there's your shiny light. The shiny golden arch is actually late at night when it's 2 or 3 in the morning and you accidentally took a 3-hour trip out of the city. Now you know where the McDonald's are. Just Google it on your Google Maps or Apple Maps. And those are going to be your beacons of demand because they're still open, right? And believe it or not, a lot of people order McDonald's for delivery. I don't know why. Personally, I would just drive there, but it's a drive-through, right? You would think that it's easier that way. But no, a lot of people use McDonald's and Wendy's and all the other fast food joints. So really, it's not really McDonald's, but it's leverage your fast food restaurants out there because they're open so late. But McDonald's it's just the most popular. That's why we put that there. And the other is it's damn near constant demand. Like whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or the hours in between, this actually goes against our tip of driving only during meal times because people order McDonald's at every hour. Especially
if you're gonna drive during that time, if you're gonna drive at 2:30 to 4:30, be next to a McDonald's.
Be next to McDonald's. And like if you're in a college town, I mean, there's another eating time, and that's like after the bars are closed. So depending on your state, I know in Pennsylvania, bars close at 2 a.m. You're going to see a huge spike in food delivery from between 2 and 4 in the morning or something like that. As drunk people are hungover and start to mosey on home and they're hungry.
Yeah.
Speaking of McDonald's is drive-thrus. So you technically want to avoid drive-thrus unless these two conditions happen, and that is you're literally the first in line, or there's maybe 2 or 3 other cars in front of you, and there's no other trips. It's late at night, and you need those trips. Avoid drive-throughs. Just think of it this way: like if there's 15 cars ahead of you in the drive-through, the lobby's not open. Is it really worth your time for that order to sit in that line for 15 minutes, 30 minutes? Probably not, because you still have to drive to the customer and deliver. So that's why I say avoid drive-throughs, but use it tactically, because sometimes it's the only trip available. And if you're the first in line in the drive-through, then go ahead and use it, because that's going to be fast.
Another good tip there. You know what we didn't actually mention, though?
What?
Is we didn't talk about how you should be also tracking your earnings. However you want to do it. I'm going to do a shameless plug here for Gridwise. Track your earnings with Gridwise. It's easy and soon to be automatic for some of you right now. But it just gives you the ability to understand, hey, how much am I making? Like, what are my best services? How much am I making for trip? How much am I making per mile? How much am I making per hour? Track your earnings, track your miles. It's super easy. Takes 2 seconds to actually do. And you just get so much more data about how profitable you're being. It's so easy as a driver to just go on autopilot and have this kind of just like arbitrary goal. But if you're actually not making that much per hour, if you're making $5 per hour, you have to kind of then think about, okay, let me reassess what I'm doing here, because this is not the most profitable thing I can be doing with my time. There are other services there. You could be doing delivery, or you could be doing caviar, you could be doing Uber Eats that might be better for you. You could be doing rideshare, you could be doing grocery delivery, things like that. So it's important to track your earnings so you know your metrics, basically. So boom, there's 11 tips for you. But that's it, guys. Let us know in the comments, what is the best way you have found to maximize your DoorDash earnings? What do you think about these 10? And if you did like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And we will keep you informed about all the good stuff about making more as a DoorDash driver. Cool. I am Brandon with Gridwise with my boy Jay.
And we'll see you on the next one.
We'll see you in the next one.